They built your understanding of the world on shallow definitions, labels that freeze living experiences into cold, lifeless concepts you were trained not to explore but to memorize, told that once something has a name, its mystery has ended. You were handed a dictionary and taught it was a mirror, but it wasn't. What you see and touch is only the crust of something much deeper, more elusive, more alive than you've ever been told. From the earliest days, you were rewarded for repeating, for identifying a tree, a chair, a star, but you weren't shown what breathes underneath those names. Your senses were boxed in by language, and your wonder tamed by logic. But something in you has always felt it, that tickle behind the ordinary, that knowing which has no proof, the idea that maybe this isn't all there is, and it isn't. Reality isn't a fixed structure made of bricks and beams. It's more like a wave, constantly folding into itself, responding to what you bring into it. There is a timeless teaching, whispered across generations through symbols, not syllables. It's not a philosophy you recite, but a pattern you remember. One such key is found in the text known as the Kybalion, not a conclusion, but a compass. It doesn't explain the world in diagrams. It reintroduces you to the part of yourself that already knows. At the core of this wisdom is a stunning proposition. Every single thing you experience begins not with matter, but with mind, not with molecules, but with meaning, not with form, but with thought. What you call the universe isn't a machine. It's not a blind accident echoing in a void. It's thought, an alive, pulsing vision projected from a higher awareness, one so vast that it contains you, and one so subtle that it works through you. The story you were handed says you move through a world that exists separate from you, that your body walks across floors and through doors and under skies that have nothing to do with you. But deep within, you've sensed otherwise. Moments when your thoughts bent the day, moments when your feelings shaped a conversation, when your mood painted the room, when a fear became real, not because you spoke it aloud, but because it rooted inside you and then found its way into form. That's no accident. This universe isn't something you observe like a movie. It's something you're embedded in, like a line in a poem or a note in a symphony. What you think doesn't just bounce around your skull. It dances into the structure of experience. Your beliefs aren't private. They echo. Your attention isn't passive. It plants seeds. Your emotional state doesn't just color your perspective. It colors the world that mirrors you. Science is only now beginning to glimpse what ancient minds already understood, that the observer is part of the experiment, that subatomic particles behave differently when watched, that consciousness cannot be separated from matter. But before we ever built colliders or equations, the old texts whispered it clearly: as above, so below, as within, so without. What you see out there is coded by what pulses in here. You're not a body with a brain riding on a rock in space. You're a pulse of mind, a ripple in the infinite sea of awareness, the same awareness that thought galaxies into being, thought you too. And just as it imagined stars, it imagines your struggles, your breakthroughs, your joy, your suffering. You're not outside that mind. You're a current within it. The difference between you and the universe isn't a wall, it's a degree, a variation in rhythm. This shifts everything. Because if all reality arises from mind, then your thoughts carry weight, not just psychological weight, but structural, creative, dynamic. Every time you think something, you issue a broadcast. Every emotion is a note played into the architecture of what will become. Your assumptions aren't benign, they sketch blueprints. Your focus isn't idle, it carves direction. You don't just react to life, you mold it. You've felt the distortion when your mind is tangled, how everything seems off, like the world is echoing your dissonance. When fear rules you, fear meets you. When pain goes unacknowledged, it multiplies. But when you make space to notice without fleeing, to breathe into the discomfort, it begins to change. Not because you fought it, but because you've seen it clearly, and presence melts the lie. As your interior world softens, so does the scenery. The outer changes trail the inner ones always, not instantly, but inevitably. Reality follows the hum of your mind. If your vibration is muddled, the world you see is foggy. If your internal tone shifts, the echo shifts too. It's not superstition, it's cause and effect on a more subtle plane. That's why this truth can't be openly shouted in most places. Because once you realize that the power is not out there, not in systems or hierarchies or authorities, but inside the stream of your perception, you become uncontrollable. That's why communities like Insights Academy exist, where these teachings can be shared quietly, deeply, without distortion. There's a reason we offer the Kybalion ebook freely for those ready to walk through that hidden door. The principle of mentalism doesn't just suggest that the world is mind, it reveals that your mind is a lens within it. You're not separated from that mind, you are a note within its song. Every ripple you create affects the whole, not metaphorically, but tangibly. This isn't about wishing your way into comfort or pretending problems don't exist. It's about understanding that what you attend to grows roots, that energy given to complaint strengthens the pattern, that what you condemn outside often reflects what you've rejected inside. You're not changing the world by force, you're changing your signal. And the world, like water, moves to match it. You were conditioned to believe in the supremacy of the material, to honor what can be counted, to measure meaning by visibility. But the deeper teachings show you that the visible is only the final step in a process that began in silence. The object you hold began as an idea. The relationship you nurture began as a resonance. The sickness or healing in your body began long before symptoms. You live in a chain of causation, and the first link is always invisible. That's why the wise don't chase change through surface fixes. They align from above and let gravity do the rest. We navigate more than one level of reality. You walk through physical streets, but you dream in landscapes that ignore time. You solve problems with logic, but you love with something no science can chart. You imagine, you grieve, you wonder, none of which occur in the realm of touch, yet they move you more than any object. These are not hallucinations, they are glimpses of the other layers, not above you in space, but above you in subtlety. The Hermetic texts speak of these levels as planes, layers of vibration, each one influencing the one beneath. The physical is the densest, the world of weight, measurement, deadlines, groceries. Above it is the mental, the domain of thought, story, belief. Here the rules begin to bend. Here time stretches and shapes itself around focus. And higher still is the spiritual, a realm without form, the place of knowing without knowing how. You drift through these levels daily. You don't need rituals or robes to touch them. You dream and rise above matter. You fall in love and leave time. You remember something you've never been told and touch the timeless. The planes aren't places, they're frequencies, and you are a being of layers, constantly vibrating across them. The higher influences the lower, always. What begins in the invisible spirals downward until it crystallizes, the way a thought becomes a word, and a word becomes an action, and an action becomes a life. You can't change a story by painting the page. You have to change the mind of the author. That author is you, and you've been writing unconsciously, but you don't have to. When you shift your state at the top of the ladder, the steps below begin to change. The results follow the rhythm, the mirror adjusts, and the life that once felt out of your hands begins to move in rhythm with your choice. Not your desperate grasp, but your calm tuning. Most suffering comes not from the world, but from being cut off from the part of you that can reshape it, from being trapped in the physical and thinking it's all there is. But the Kybalion teaches that reality is a flowing chain, and you are not stuck at the bottom. You are a being of mind riding on frequency, moving through currents that reflect your own music back to you. And music by its nature can always be retuned. You've noticed it, haven't you? How some days carry a heaviness that seems unrelated to circumstance, how certain people drain you before they even speak, and others lift your spirits with nothing more than their presence. This isn't just psychology. It's the invisible language of vibration, the subtle force that governs all matter, mind, and meaning. Every molecule, every thought, every heartbeat pulses with energy. Even in stillness, your body hums with a frequency that can be measured, felt, and influenced. The universe itself isn't a static place, but a vast concert of oscillations, rhythms, and waves. You are an instrument tuned to a particular key, and the key you play sends signals into the fabric of reality. When you walk into a room, you change the atmosphere, whether you notice or not. Your energy interacts with others' energy. Sometimes it harmonizes, sometimes it clashes. This is not metaphor, but physics writ large across experience. It's why some encounters feel like a breath of fresh air, and others like a storm. Emotions are no exception. Joy, anger, love, fear, each carries a distinct frequency. They are vibrations that shape your perception and the environment you inhabit. You felt this intuitively. When happiness floods your heart, your body relaxes, your mind opens, and opportunities seem to flow effortlessly toward you. When anxiety tightens its grip, your world contracts, possibilities shrink, and obstacles feel insurmountable. The key revelation here is that your vibration isn't fixed. It's a dynamic state you can learn to shift, sculpt, and refine. Your internal state sends a signal, and reality answers in kind. This is the principle of vibration, a cornerstone of Hermetic wisdom that reveals how deeply interconnected you are with the cosmos. Why is this truth so hidden? Because it returns control to you. If you can alter your frequency, you can influence your experience. This terrifies systems built on keeping you reactive, disempowered, and distracted. They want you to believe you are a victim of circumstance, a passive recipient of fate. But this is false. You aren't a leaf tossed in the wind. You're the wind's breath itself. The physical world is just one expression of energy slowed down enough to be seen. Matter is energy vibrating at a frequency your senses can register. Raise that frequency, and what you experience shifts. Lower it, and limitations arise. It's like a radio dial. Tune it to static, and you hear noise. Tune it to music, and harmony fills your ears. Transformation begins by turning that dial. It's about calming mental chaos, clearing emotional debris, and elevating your inner tone. Initially, the changes are subtle. You may feel a quiet calm, a gentle opening, a softening of old wounds. Over time, these internal shifts ripple outward. People around you start to respond differently. Doors once closed open. Patterns that repeated for years break. What once drained you loses power. What you've longed for begins to emerge. This is not wishful thinking. It's the natural flow of energy responding to your signal. If you feel stuck, trapped in circumstances that refuse to budge, ask yourself, what frequency am I broadcasting? What story am I telling the universe with my thoughts, emotions, and focus? You don't need to have a clear plan or perfect clarity on your desires. You only need to embody the vibration of the life you wish to live, the version of you who has already arrived. That version radiates trust instead of fear, openness instead of defensiveness, presence instead of proving. It moves through life with less force and more flow. This is not achieved by sheer willpower or denial of reality. It's remembered when you stop clinging to old identities, doubts and fears that no longer serve you. It's about reconnecting with your deeper self, the essence beneath the mask. Observing these principles in action will reveal the silent music beneath life's chaos. You'll notice how energy patterns play out in relationships, opportunities, and even seemingly random events. Soon the question shifts from, "Why is this happening to me?" to "What frequency brought this into form?" You'll begin tuning your own dial rather than reacting to static. Our culture teaches us to see the world in opposites, good and bad, success and failure, light and dark, and to choose sides. But Hermetic philosophy dismantles this black and white thinking. Everything is a spectrum, a range of degrees along the same energy. Hot and cold are both temperature. Love and hate are intense focuses of feeling. Life and death are stages in a cycle, not final destinations. This principle of polarity exposes the illusion of harsh dualities and opens the door to mastery. Because if you understand that opposites are really degrees of the same thing, you can shift along the spectrum. You can transform fear into courage, anger into clarity, apathy into purpose. Energy never disappears, it changes form. Emotional mastery is about transmutation, recognizing your feelings and guiding them to higher vibrations rather than suppressing or denying them. This is the art of the mental alchemist. With practice, you become less reactive, less tossed between extremes. You hold steady in the center, the neutral point where awareness guides instead of impulse. Daily life is often a pendulum, swinging between craving and avoidance, control and chaos. But true power arises from balance, where you choose your response rather than being swept by it. When anger arises, you learn to ask what it reveals instead of acting blindly. When jealousy surfaces, you listen for unmet needs rather than burying it in shame. Every challenging emotion carries a message, and polarity teaches you to read its frequency instead of judging its label. This also dismantles division. Those you oppose or resist often hold reflections of your own unhealed parts. Recognizing this doesn't mean agreement, but compassion and learning. Contrast exists to teach growth. Without darkness, how would you know light? Without doubt, how would truth shine? The systems profiting from your conflict depend on your obsession with extremes, political polarization, cultural battles, moral absolutism. They keep you locked in struggle, unable to see the full spectrum. Polarity reveals that what you resist is what holds you. What you hate is often what you fear or reject within yourself. Integration dissolves the extremes, bringing calm and clarity. You begin to move through storms with peace rather than panic, becoming untouchable not because you are shielded, but because you no longer swing wildly. You know your place on the spectrum and how to shift consciously. That is true freedom, and it terrifies those who profit from your chaos. From the moment you took your first breath, you were conditioned to value only what's visible, tangible, measurable. Success became trophies, money, status. Feelings and intuition were dismissed as unreliable or frivolous. But the greatest forces shaping your life are invisible. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your inner state. These unseen currents carry far more power than possessions or titles. Materialism is the religion of the modern world, presented as rational and scientific, but no less dogmatic than any creed. It teaches that consciousness arises from matter, reducing your mind to a byproduct of chemicals and electricity. This diminishes your true nature to a glitch in the system. The Kybalion turns this view upside down. It teaches that matter is the last step, not the first, that all physical form emerges from energy, and energy is shaped by mind. Reality begins as thought descends through vibration and condenses into form. What you see is the shadow of what you cannot. Society insists you stay trapped at the bottom of this ladder, confusing the reflection for the source. That's why so many feel empty despite abundance. They chase external goals but starve their inner world. True fulfillment arises from tuning inward, not outward. You can't fill a soul with things, but you can nourish it with presence, awareness, and aligned attention. Plants respond to care. Water changes with intention. Your body heals in response to belief. This is not fringe spirituality, but emerging science. You aren't merely moving through matter. You're co-creating it moment by moment. Your experience is shaped by the story you tell yourself about what is real. If life feels heavy or stuck, ask what you've been trained to value. What illusions are you holding above your own awareness? When you reclaim the unseen, your thoughts, your frequency, your inner wisdom, you take back control. You become the artist of your reality, not its victim. You are not limited to the mask or body you inhabit. You are a multi-dimensional being shifting through layers of existence. When you consciously engage higher planes, life flows with rhythm and meaning. Chaos becomes code, waiting for your tuning. Nothing is still. Everything vibrates. That is the universal law. That is physics. That is you. You might have felt it before. How stepping into certain spaces changes the energy around you. How the presence of others affects your own state without a single word spoken. This is vibration in action. It's not mystical jargon. It's the foundational language of existence itself. Each molecule, cell, thought, and feeling resonates with a frequency that shapes your experience and the world you interact with. Even in moments of stillness, you are a symphony of motion, a dance of energy woven into the fabric of reality. The universe is not a static place, but a vibrant performance, and you are both performer and audience. Your inner state broadcasts waves that ripple outward, influencing and being influenced in return. Your emotions are signals, not mere reactions. Joy, sorrow, love, fear, all carry unique vibrations. When joy fills your being, your breath deepens, your muscles relax, your mind expands, and possibilities unfold. When fear grips you, your body contracts, your focus narrows, and challenges seem overwhelming. These are not random. They are the dynamic exchange between you and the field of all that is. The crucial insight is that your vibration is malleable. You are not locked into a fixed frequency, but can learn to tune yourself like an instrument. This ability is the key to transformation. When you shift your internal state, the world you experience begins to shift in response. This is the ancient principle of vibration rediscovered and echoed in modern science. Quantum physics tells us that observation influences particles, and consciousness plays a role in shaping reality. Yet this knowledge remains hidden from the masses because it returns power to the individual. Systems built on control fear a populace that understands how to consciously shape their experience. They prefer you reactive, distracted, and fragmented. But you are not a helpless victim of circumstance. You are a creative force, a frequency shaping matter and meaning. The visible world is simply energy slowed enough to be perceived. Matter is vibration condensed. Raise your frequency and reality adjusts. Lower it and limitations arise. Transformation begins with subtle shifts, calming mental chatter, releasing emotional burdens, lifting your perspective. These changes may be quiet at first, but set off ripples that eventually realign your environment. You start attracting people, opportunities, and circumstances aligned with your new state. What was once absent or blocked begins to flow. If you feel stuck, ask yourself, what frequency am I sending out? What stories, beliefs, and emotions color my signal? You don't have to have all the answers or clarity on your destination. You only need to embody the energy of the life you desire, the version of yourself who already lives that truth. This version vibrates with trust, presence, and openness rather than fear, resistance, or proving. It moves with flow, not force. This state is not manufactured by willpower or denial, but remembered when you let go of limiting identities and fears. It arises when you reconnect with your essence beneath the mask. Observing life through this lens reveals the hidden order beneath apparent chaos, the quiet rhythm shaping events, the unseen patterns behind relationships, the synchronicities guiding your path. Your question changes from, "Why is this happening to me?" to "What frequency is creating this?" You learn to tune your dial rather than react to noise. Our culture teaches dualities, good and bad, success and failure, light and dark. We're conditioned to pick sides, fearing the other. Hermetic wisdom reveals these opposites are degrees of the same energy. Hot and cold are temperature gradients. Love and hate are intense focuses of feeling. Life and death are phases of existence, not absolutes. This principle of polarity frees you from false binaries. It empowers you to transmute emotions, fear into courage, anger into clarity, apathy into purpose. Energy never disappears, it transforms. Emotional mastery is the art of recognizing and elevating your inner frequencies, not denying or suppressing them. This mental alchemy makes you less reactive and more centered. You find balance at the neutral point, steering your responses rather than being pulled by extremes. Life swings like a pendulum between craving and avoidance, control and chaos. Power comes from finding stillness within that swing. When anger arises, you inquire into its message rather than acting impulsively. When jealousy appears, you explore unmet needs rather than shame. Every difficult emotion carries wisdom, and polarity teaches you to read its frequency, not judge its label. This insight dissolves division. Those you oppose reflect parts of yourself you haven't reconciled. Understanding doesn't mean agreement, but compassion. Contrast exists to teach growth. Without darkness, light has no meaning. Without doubt, truth can't shine. Systems profit from your obsession with extremes, political battles, cultural wars, moral absolutism. They keep you locked in conflict, blind to the spectrum. Polarity reveals that resistance fuels entrapment. What you hate often mirrors what you fear or reject within. Integration calms the storm, bringing peace and freedom. You begin to navigate life calmly, untouchable, not because nothing affects you, but because you no longer swing wildly. You know your place on the spectrum and how to shift with awareness. This is true freedom and the power systems dread. From birth, you were taught to value the tangible, grades, trophies, money, beauty, and dismiss the invisible, feelings, intuition, inner knowing. But the greatest forces shaping your life are unseen, your thoughts, beliefs, and internal states. Materialism pretends to be neutral and scientific, but is a dogma denying your true nature. It claims consciousness arises from matter, reducing your mind to electrical signals. This narrative confines you. The Kybalion flips it, teaching matter is the effect, not the cause. Reality originates as thought, descends through vibration, and manifests as form. You see shadows of the unseen. Society wants you trapped at the bottom, mistaking reflections for reality. This causes emptiness, even amid abundance. True fulfillment arises by turning inward. You can't nourish your soul with possessions. Presence, awareness, and aligned attention feed it. Plants grow with care, Water shifts with intention. Your body heals responding to belief. This is emerging science, not fringe. You are co-creating reality, encoding experience moment by moment. Your life mirrors the stories you hold true. If stuck, question what illusions you've elevated above your awareness. When you reclaim your thoughts, frequency, and inner wisdom, you take the helm. You become the artist, not victim. You're more than your body or identity, a multi-dimensional being moving through layers of reality. When you consciously engage higher planes, life flows, synchronicities unfold, chaos turns to code. Nothing is still, everything vibrates. This is universal law, physics, and your nature. You've felt moments when silence speaks, awe opens your heart, and stillness reveals truth. This is you touching the universal mind, the infinite source. It's not distant, but intimately present, waiting in the quiet between thoughts. But training taught you to look outward for validation and dismiss intuition. Ignoring intuition cuts off your guidance. The universal mind speaks through patterns, symbols, synchronicities. Aligning with it opens doors, clears paths, and orchestrates your life with precision. Understanding that all minds live within the one dissolves separation. Compassion grows, judgment fades. You stop fighting the world and begin collaborating with its intelligence. Every thought becomes sacred, every action intentional. You're not moving through dead matter, but dancing with living consciousness. This is the Kybalion's meaning when it says, all is mind. Knowing you're part of the universal mind means you don't need to struggle for place or prove worth. You share essence with stars, galaxies, and life itself. Life shifts from striving to tuning, seeking to remembering. You don't need power. You need to stop forgetting it. The universal mind never left. You stopped listening. Now, in stillness and silence, you hear again. Once you feel this, you remember you were never separate or small. You are source expressing as form. The world's distractions pull your attention outward to keep you small. They flood senses with noise, minds with worry, time with busyness. This is intentional, to keep you distracted and disempowered. Systems profit when you equate productivity with purpose, fame with worth. They want you exhausted and reactive. But turning inward, observing, questioning, breaks the cycle. You become a participant in your own unfolding, not a pawn. This isn't rebellion for drama, but clarity. When thoughts are hijacked by fear and comparison, your vibration collapses. You forget your source and hand power away. They sell you illusions of freedom in countless packages, none satisfying because they can't. True revolution begins when you reclaim attention, choosing silence over distraction, questioning inner narratives. Awareness is the sharpest tool. Seeing programming lets you rewrite your story. You were never meant to numb intuition or drown purpose. You were meant to wake up to your mind shaping the world. You are programmable and can be realigned. But it takes presence, effort, and the choice to stop playing others' games. Hermetic wisdom becomes action, curating emotion, thinking purposefully, dialoguing with universal mind daily. Not perfectly, but deliberately. Life changes steadily. Wrong people fade, right ones arrive, opportunities align without force. Obstacles shift with ease, not magic, but alignment. The universe doesn't require perfection, just tuning. Living in coherence makes you magnetic, not special. Ego seeks spotlight, truth seeks harmony. Living truth reduces manipulation, distraction, and need for approval. You don't perform worth. You embody it. No permission needed to be. If you're not inside Insights Academy, you're missing what can't be shared here. Sign up free below for the Kybalion ebook. The world won't slow for your awakening. You must claim it. Reclaim attention from illusions. Attention is currency, energy, your vote for reality. You have more reason and power than ever to spend it wisely. At some point, seeking answers outside stops. You realize they've been inside all along, in awareness beneath thought and belief. Amid noise and conditioning, stillness remains. From stillness comes remembering. This is the Kybalion's gift. Not something new, but remembering what was never lost. You were born to be a current in the great stream of consciousness, a frequency of universal mind, not separate or lesser. You are principle in action, vibration expressed, polarity balancing, student and teacher in one. Waking up reveals life, echoing deep truths. You were never powerless. Systems dulled senses and disconnected wisdom. They made you doubt and chase validation, but none erased truth, only distracted from it. Peeling layers reveals nothing essential was lost, only forgotten. Forgetting was part of the journey, because you cannot remember what was never lost. The Kybalion isn't dogma, but a mirror reflecting your potential. Mentalism, vibration, polarity are not abstract ideas. They are tools, lenses, frequencies. Applying them as living awareness makes life navigable, fluid, a map, not maze. You can face discomfort without collapse, contrast without consumption. You can shift frequency without waiting for circumstance. This is mastery, not control over others, but mastery of self. Quiet, centered, undeniable power. You were told to chase, hustle, strive, but rarely to pause, remember, tune in. The world glorifies force, but universe responds to frequency. Aligned energy lets life unfold naturally. This is return, not to who you were, but who you've always been beneath forgetting. Not innocence, but awareness. You don't become more, you unbecome what's false. You see behind the curtain, the machinery, the vibration behind form. What you do with vision is your choice. Know this: nothing outside holds more power than within. Remembering makes you uncontrollable, not from arrogance, but from truth. There are two powers, one given, one remembered. Only one lasts. If this resonated, share that you understood.